Hey guys, and welcome to a new series I like to call Kethane Space Program. I know I've been talking a lot about doing this series, and I actually got around to doing it. So, um, basically, in this episode, what we're doing is we're going to be building a Kethane detector satellite, which you can see right now. Um, it's double speed right now because I figured you guys wouldn't want to sit and watch me build a satellite because it's very simple and not very difficult to do anyways, which is the exact same thing. So in this episode, we're going to be building this Kethane detector satellite, and we're going to get it to the moon. We're going to get it into a polar orbit around the moon, so we can detect any Kethane that's around the surface of the moon. And so far, I did a trial run, and it works pretty well. I mean, the game's running a lot more smoothly than it has been, so we're gonna attempt to do this series. But don't worry if you don't want to watch like a modded series because I'm still gonna be doing the regular Let's Play of Kerbal Space Program, which is completely vanilla with no mods whatsoever. The only mods that I'm running for this series is the Kethane mod, obviously, and I added a rover from the DEMV pack, which is it's like one of their most popular rovers. It's a really simple rover that's really sweet that you can add stuff onto. But so far as I've planned out for this series is that we're gonna be detecting Kethane on the moon, getting a rover up there to detect Kethane on the surface, get a mining party up there to mine some Kethane, and then we're gonna start setting up a moon base for any kind of for processing and mining Kethane, and to hold the fuel. So then basically we'll be using the moon as like a, a waypoint or a start point for any interstellar travel. So roughly what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building a satellite, getting a space station around Kerbin, getting a space station around the moon to hold fuel, and then we will be after that we'll be getting a rover on the surface of the moon. But that's a couple episodes ahead. But as of for right now, this episode is going to be the building and positioning, I guess what you could call it, of the Kethane satellite. So yeah, I would finish off building this thing. It's a real simple design. I actually made a few modifications to it from this original form right here, which is it's not very many more modifications. It's pretty much exactly the same, except it's got a little bit less of fuel because I found out that I didn't need that much fuel. So I made the fuel load smaller, and I kind of undid the big parachutes and put smaller parachutes on it, and took some fins off and stuff, and just made it very, very simple. So I will see you guys on the launch pad. Alright guys, we're on the launch pad, and this is the new version of the rocket. I rebuilt it, and I haven't tested it yet, so this is going to be interesting, to say the least. Now, I don't honestly know if this thing will even get into space, and that's a problem right there. Let me fix that real quick. Let me turn on our SAS, and we are going to launch in 3, 2, 1, go. So obviously we don't need any of our outer rockets right now to get this guy going. I'm just going to start him up just so the gimbal will give us a little more direction when we're actually going up. So right, this episode is our main goal is to get this satellite to the moon and get it into a polar orbit without running out of fuel, basically. So we're going to attempt to do that, and I am going to, yeah, we're going to do that. So, yeah. I've wanted to do this series for a while now, and I just haven't had time really to get into it, and haven't had the game operating correctly for me anyways, while I've been trying to play this anyways. But this is an extremely simple rocket design. I'm actually tipping over now because this thing is so light that we could probably get it into orbit very easily. So I'm actually going to throttle down here for a second. We're burning a lot of fuel that we don't need to be. And but yeah, I'm tipping over early because this thing is so light that we don't really need a lot of vertical speed. We need horizontal speed more than anything, and I just want to get as much horizontal speed when I have our engines that are the most amount of engines that we have right now until we get into orbit anyways. I don't know if that made any sense, but I'm like trying to concentrate on flying this thing without it falling apart. So yeah, basically we need horizontal velocity and not vertical velocity right now, because this rocket's so light that you don't need to worry about getting up into the air. You just need to worry about getting into orbit with the amount of fuel that you have. And right now I did cut down a lot of fuel on this rocket, so now whether or not it actually gets into orbit is a completely different story, because I honestly haven't even tested it yet. So this is a first trial run right now that we're doing. So if it works, yay! If not, crap! We'll just have to redesign it and go from there. But the whole series that I wanted to do with this Kethane mod is basically I wanted to build. I was gonna build a moon base in my vanilla let's play of this game, but if you build a moon base there's no reason to build a moon base other than just to be like, hey, look what I can do. So I didn't really want to waste the time and effort to build a moon base when I don't really need to, you know. So basically, I'm using this series as the moon base, a reason for the moon base. Um, so let me click get into orbit here. Um, so basically, now that I have the Kethane mod installed and I can detect Kethane, the whole reason to build a moon base is actually very, there's an actual reason to build a moon base, to mine Kethane and use it as like a hub to get to other planets. And if we have unlimited amounts of fuel, or not unlimited, but copious amounts of fuel on the moon and able to mine it from the moon and have tankers on the moon so we can fly fuel back and forth from the moon surface to like our space station that we're going to be building, then cool. Like we don't have to. The hardest part about this game is getting out of orbit around Kerbin. That's, I'd have to say, the hardest part of this entire game, because you have so much atmosphere to go through that you have to build your rocket in such a way that it'll get out of orbit. Now, if we can just omit that completely and have a spacecraft in orbit already around the moon and refuel it at the moon, we can use the moon as our hub to get to other planets, which shouldn't be difficult at all. So in other words, we just get into an escape velocity from the moon, get into a giant orbit around Kerbin, which would take very, very little fuel because the moon's gravitational pull is very minimal. So then we'd have our orbit around Kerbin without having to go through the atmosphere of Kerbin, therefore wasting fuel that we don't need to waste, and yada yada blah blah. You get my drift. So that's basically what we're going to be doing. But as of right now, we just need to get this satellite in orbit, which it seems to be doing just fine doing that. I have copious amounts of fuel still. This is just the main rocket booster that we needed to get into orbit. That's one thing I forgot to do. Damn, I forgot to make action groups for this thing. So I gotta manually do all this stuff, or manually extend my solar panels, because I don't want a dead satellite floating around space. So, basically, I'm learning the Kethane mod as we go. So as of right now, as far as I know, you need a satellite around whichever planet it is that you're going to plan on mining. So right now, that is the moon, and that is the gist of the plan, anyways. But you can mine Kethane from pretty much any planet as long as it has Kethane deposits. Um, Holy crap, we got a lot of freaking. We are up there, aren't we? 155. Wow, 155 kilometers. I guess we didn't really need to do that much. But we are going to, hold on a second. Slow that down and get into an orbit here real quick. But yeah, as far as I know, all you need is a satellite around the surface to make sure that there is Kethane deposits and to find the actual Kethane deposits. So when we do find the Kethane deposits, we can send a rover down and with a smaller detector, and we just ran out of fuel, with a smaller detector, cut the engine, disconnect that, fire up our nuclear engine here, and basically hope we get into orbit here. We have a lot of we have a lot of distance away from the planet, so we should have plenty of time to get into orbit. But what was I saying? But yeah, we're going to send a rover with a smaller Kethane detector and actually find a big area of Kethane, and then we're going to send a miner up there with a converter and all that fun stuff, and actually start mining the Kethane, and then we're going to start building fuel tankers down there that we can load up with fuel, and then we have to build a carrier basically of a spacecraft to carry fuel back and forth from the space station that's going to be around the moon from the surface of the moon. So we have to figure out some way to design a space tug, I guess you can call it, to get from the surface of the moon to the space station around the moon, which shouldn't take much. It shouldn't take much thrust at all. So I have a general idea of what I want to do when it comes to, or how I'm going to do that, which is it's going to basically going to look like a giant X, which is 4 engines on the outer edges, and then like a big docking port in the middle, so I can pick up and land things without having to touch the actual tug to the ground. So um, there's that. And then I got to figure out a way to put fuel tanks on the surface of the moon without and being able to connect to them, and being able to have a mining station connected to it to fill it up with fuel. And it's going to be a long and arduous process that I haven't even started thinking about yet. So it's basically we're going to be learning together here, guys. Because this is gonna be a cool series. I really wanted to do this series because I just think it'd be really cool and really entertaining. So right now we're gonna try. Now where can we put a node to get to the moon? Right about here, maybe. Nope. Let's spin it. Oh, there's an encounter. We want to make sure it's the right encounter, because if you've watched my other series, we want to make sure that we're orbiting the moon in a certain direction. Otherwise, we'll end up screwing ourselves. So I want to make sure that that is in the direction we want to be. And it is, but what's the periapsis at? 100 kilometers, which isn't bad. That's pretty roughly what I want. So we are going to fast forward now and get to our maneuver node. And when we get there, we are going to make our maneuver to the moon, and hopefully get there without too much of a problem. And then we got to turn on the satellite, and then we got to make sure that it's in a polar orbit. So we got a couple things to do for this episode yet. So yeah. And if you haven't seen my vanilla Let's Play, you guys should go check it out. It was my first Let's Play, so bear with me. I'm not very talkative for the first 3 episodes or 4 episodes or whatever. But I start loosening up and getting a little more comfortable talking to myself, basically. Which is the weird part about recording Let's Plays, is that you sit here and just play a game and try to be entertaining when you talk, and then just like you're just talking to yourself in an empty room, and it's weird. It's really weird. I'm not gonna lie. But whatever. I'm trying, guys. I'm learning. All right. So bear with me. Bear with me for now. There we go. That's where I want to be. 1:40 burn, and we just passed up our node, but we should be okay. So we're gonna start our burn towards the moon right now, and I still have a whole another engine on this satellite, which would be more than enough to get us to the moon. This whole thing should be plenty of thrust to get us to the moon. The nuclear engine itself has absurd amounts of efficiency, or it is absurdly efficient. So this little tiny tank right here will probably get us out to the moon, and be able to get us into orbit, and be able to get us into our polar orbit that we need to be into to actually scan the planet efficiently. And basically the whole reason we have to get into a polar orbit is because the moon is rotating just like the Earth does. So whenever we're orbiting the moon, the moon will be spinning, a flat spin, while we're doing a spin over top. So basically, while the moon is spinning, we'll be doing the same exact orbit, but the underneath of us will be changing, so we can scan more of the moon. The only other thing that I've noticed with this Kethane mod is that the fact that if you are it takes a really long time to scan a planet. It does. So whenever we find a really nice big deposit of Kethane, that's probably where we're gonna land. Because I don't want to scan the whole planet, because it'll just take too long. So yeah, there's that. But let's see where we're at here. We are almost where we need to be. We didn't miss our node by that much, so we shouldn't be that far off. As long as we stay on the actual node on the nav ball, we should be okay. We're going to start slowing our thrust here for a second. Make sure that we... Oh, where are we at here? Is it getting smaller? Yes, it is. We'll get it back to... We'll get it to where we need to get it, roughly. Maybe. We might have screwed ourselves. Oh! Where are we at here? 172. Sweet. We'll get it back down. We'll get it down to about 100 kilometers from the moon. Roughly. Oh, 97. That's close enough. Let's get rid of this node because it's making the whole thing go nuts. Make sure our orbit is actually, because it's like flashing right now, so it seems like it doesn't know exactly what the hell it wants to do. And we are going to quick save in case something does go catastrophically wrong. But yeah, so we're gonna attempt, and we'll see. We still got half a tank of fuel, and this thing doesn't have very much fuel in it at all, which is the sweet part about these nuclear engines. So if you guys haven't started building satellites or spacecraft with the nuclear engines, you guys need to do that because they're extremely efficient. And once you're in space, you don't need a ridiculous amount of thrust. The only reason you need a ridiculous amount of thrust is if you want to get there quick. And in space travel, you don't really get places quick because everything's so damn far away. So yeah, just a pro tip for you guys: use a nuclear engine. Build your spacecraft around nuclear engines. They're awesome. So yeah. All right. So we're gonna attempt to get to the moon here quickly because I'm trying to cut these episode lengths down. But whenever you play these games live, it is very difficult to do that. So I'm attempting, guys. I'm attempting. So we're gonna actually quick save real quick, just before the node changes, because sometimes my game likes to crash whenever the node changes. There we go. And it is freezing, and it's freaking me out. Stop doing that. You can. There we go. Alright, so we're going to make another maneuver node here. We can probably actually change this right now, or start to change it anyways, so we can slowly get our orbit to where we need to. Because we have to get into a polar orbit to scan this planet, or to scan the moon properly anyways. So we're going to keep messing with this. Get it roughly close. So it's a 1 and 7 second burn, which isn't bad. And it's close to the orbit that we want. I might actually slow this down even more. Make sure our periaps isn't changing very much. The hardest part of getting into a lunar orbit is that your apoaps changes because it's I don't know, it's just weird. I don't know why it does that. But we need to find the node on the nav ball here. Where is it at? There it is. So whenever we do get to our node or get close to our node, we'll be able to burn without missing it. So let's get right there. And let's fast forward, which is an extremely slow orbit. That's the other problem about being around the moon. The moon has such little gravity that your orbit's so slow, so it takes a really long time to scan anything on the surface of the moon. So we're going to attempt... Let it count down slowly because I don't want to miss the node. So it's a 1 and 18 second burn. So let's see here. We got 10 minutes until our node. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright. Now, we're going to start our burn here in about 10 seconds. So, we should be getting into this orbit. And then we're going to still have to adjust. We have to make it pretty much 90 degrees with the orbit of the moon to scan it efficiently anyways. So we're going to go ahead and see the surface of the moon. Isn't that pretty? And we're going to start our burn. Right meow. But, so yeah, we're attempting, but this is the only non-vanilla part on this entire spacecraft is this piece right here. This is the actual Kethane detector itself. This is like the deep space detector. You can be like, I don't remember how far away you can be, but you can be super far away compared to the other detectors to actually like scan a planet. So it's pretty cool. And then there's like a smaller one, and then there's, I don't even know what the one, there's one that's like huge, but I don't even know. It says it's like a personal one that like Kerbals can carry. So I was just like, okay. So I don't know. I haven't messed with this mod that much. So all I know is that we have to detect the Kethane. So bear with me. We're gonna be learning together, guys. So if you do want to play with this mod, this will be kind of like a guide, or at least a little bit of a idea of what the hell's going on with this with the Kethane, which apparently the devs at Kerbal Space Program, or the devs at Squad, anyways, are going to be adding places or things that you can mine, like same kind of things like Kethane, but they haven't yet, and I'm still waiting for that new update for the scientific stuff, which is going to be awesome. I can't wait to play with that stuff. I think that'll be really fun to mess with. Let's see here. Get closer. There we go. All right, so let's see where we're at here. Just get rid of this node. And we are going to adjust our Apple apps. So we need to go retrograde. Oh, too much. Too much. Too much. This thing spins very easily. So let's retrograde and shrink our Apple apps quite a bit here. Get it a lot closer. We could start scanning right now, but I really want to get this thing into a a near perfect orbit around the surface, because it would just make the scanning process even better. So we're gonna get this thing close here, and then we're gonna put it in and start scanning. Let's see where we're at here. Can we add or adjust it here? Yes, we can. That looks pretty close. Let's mess with that. See if that works. Let's see here. It's making it big again, but that's alright. Cut the engines here. There we go. It's pretty close. At least it looks pretty close anyways. We could probably adjust it a little more, which we're going to do with another maneuver node. That looks good. So we'll do that one. Let's see. Something's not right here. Oh, that's why. I'm an idiot. I'm out of fuel. Let's get rid of that. That's why. I wasn't moving anywhere. So we're gonna get this thing in an orbit around roughly 100 kilometers rather, around the surface of the moon here. Our periaps is getting pretty low right now, so let's add another maneuver node and adjust this just a touch more. That looks pretty good. So we're gonna go with that. I think I can move this down without messing up too much. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. Let's find our node here. Yeah, there it is. guess I could be using my RCS, but I don't really care to. Right there. And got it. Perfect. Alright. Get our orbit into a nice circle. And then we'll turn on our satellite and see if we can detect some Kethane. So we gotta make this other side bigger. So we need to go prograde. Adjust it there we go. 100 kilometers out, and then we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Right there. And we are already on our retrograde. Click on that. Maybe. There we go. Shrink that back down. One. Crap. I need to put that back too much. There we go. And we gotta wait again until we get to our periapse again, so we can adjust the apoapse as well. And we shall see. Let me go retrograde. There we go. Perfect. 100 and 100. Looks pretty close anyways. So now we need to point this at the pole. Probably point it north. Just like, actually we'll point it at the, I mean it won't change. It should be fine right here. So let's get it. Where's our Kethane mod? Let's see here. Kethane will show the grid. And you see, if you, I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's little hexagons around the entire surface, which, and obviously this new tab that tells you the resource info. But we are going to turn on our detector and see if we can get some Kethane here. So far, nothing. So let's fast forward and see if we can find a deposit. Oh, here we go. Ooh, that's a nice size deposit there. But we shall leave this satellite to scan this entire, well, the surface of the moon anyways. But that's a pretty decent deposit right on the front side of the moon, which is a good thing. But basically the whole reason for the polar orbit is, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I just fast forward a ridiculous amount and it didn't have enough time to scan. But basically what it does is that it just, as the moon orbits, it'll scan a new part of the moon as we orbit. That's why we had to do all that stuff just to get the thing into a polar orbit. So yeah, I think that's it for this episode. But that's a general taste of what this series is going to be about. So we found our Kethane deposit, and we are going to next. We need to build a space station around Kerbal to dock anything that we, like a heavy miner or something that we might be flying out to the moon to start mining, to refuel it and yada yada blah blah, just to get it to the moon that much easier. So we need to build a space station around Kerbal and another space station around the moon. So we're probably going to do that next episode. So, anyways, so yeah, that's the plan for this series so far. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and comments. Leave your guys comments for any ideas that you guys might have for this moon base that I'm going to be building. And maybe some ideas for a space station, or whatever have you. But we are gonna actually rename this real quick. Can we? I don't know if we can. We should be able to. Oh, maybe not. No electric charge. It's a dead satellite. I don't know why it is. We have a battery on there. We have a battery and solar panels. What's going on here? No electric charge. Are these Were these like not doing their job? I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is. We're in. I see what's going on here. See if that changes here. Hopefully it will. As soon as we get out from behind the. There we go. That scared me for a minute. That was weird. That would have been so pointless if we got the satellite all the way out here and it died as we got it into orbit around the moon and started scanning. But it was just in an eclipse of the Kerbin, so that was weird. Let's see. Yeah, we're charging up pretty easily, and the satellite itself doesn't take much electric charge. But anyways, don't forget to comment, like the video, link the video to to anything. I mean, I don't care. I mean, I want spread the word of the Kethane mod, which I think is pretty cool. Um, but yeah, so next episode we're building a space station around Kerbin, which should be a pretty simple one. Shouldn't be that difficult. And like I said, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and thanks guys for watching, and I will see you next time.